And now, ladies and gentlemen, Michael McDonald. Okay, enough. That's it. Shut it down. We have no idea what you're saying. No, we're done. Enough. Don't we have like a big hook here or something?
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have an accomplished professional puppeteer and puppet builder for over 25 years. She has worked on countless stage productions, films, and TV shows, including Alf, Men in Black, The Muppets, and Sesame Street. She has traveled the globe to humanitarian hotspots to deliver life-saving workshops and films to children in crises around the world. Thrive Loud listeners with no strings attached, I bring you Lisa Buckley. Lisa, how are you today?
I am so wonderful. Hello, hello.
So listeners got to understand, I'm going to rewind here and share something. When my children who are now 21 and 19, it's actually my daughter's birthday, the day we're recording this.
Oh.
They are much older, but when they were little kids, to maybe put them to sleep or put them to bed, love to give them little puppet shows. And I am by no means a puppeteer. I would just take their dolls and toys and make it silly. I've always loved puppets. I'm fascinated by puppets. And I'm probably more fascinated of it because of people like you, Lisa Buckley, who have brought this incredible skill to the eyes and ears of so many people from Sesame Street, the Muppets, and all that. So what I want to do is I want to rewind the clock to help our listeners and viewers have a chance to understand exactly how this all became your gig.
Oh my goodness. I never started out wanting to be a puppeteer, that's for sure. I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to be a zoologist, a wildlife biologist. My heroes were Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey and Jacques Cousteau. Those were like, oh my God, I want to be like those people. So when I went to college, I all prepared to be a scientist. And I get to school and I realize I don't like science. I don't like it at all. I'm not good at it. I wanted my animals to talk and have lives and jobs and, so luckily for me at this school, and I went to Southern Connecticut State University, go Owls, they had a puppet class and I took it and oh my goodness, it was so much fun, so silly. And it just made my heart go pitter patter. And that's when you're aligned with what you're supposed to be doing. So I left school and started doing birthday parties and library shows and any kind of puppet thing I could possibly do. And I was very, very lucky. I seemed to be at the right place at the right time because I worked on Alf. I was the left hand.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
I know. I had a chair. My chair said left hand on it, which I think is so ridiculous. And then on to Sesame Street, because at that time, a lot of the mothers were complaining, all the characters are male. How come there's no female characters for our daughters to watch? So they had like a big cattle call audition for female puppeteers. And I went and I had just given birth too, which is crazy. And I got a job on that and I was there for 10 seasons and I was a hot dog and a glass of water and a penguin and a monster. And, it was just like so ridiculous, but the best puppeteers in the world. And then I just all these other little shows on Men in Black. I was the alien that came out of the taxi cab when he burst out with Will Smith and Will Smith catches him. And I was the tail. So I had these two little levers and this is what I did. I just moved these levers and the tail went like that, just kind of flapped. And, that was, and then it was like, okay, cut, you're done. Bye. I love this job. And I still get residual checks from that.
So this is incredible. Let's talk about this. At what point did the bell get off? Oh my God, I get to get paid to do this. Was this just like this? And this is going to be my career because these opportunities just kind of came, but
coming. I know
you're able to make a living doing this. And I think this is what a lot of people need to know, because By the way, and I don't want to be a spoiler alert for any of the listeners out there, but when you watch Sesame Street or the Muppets, they're not real. They're actually really Muppets or puppets.
Yeah.
And they're human beings. And I've seen behind the scenes of this.
Incredible.
You're standing with what are the most high-tech marionettes is the best description I could ever come up with, right? Which is what really a Muppet is, right? Where you're standing and you're ducking out of character and there's a whole. Was there a lot of training to do this stuff?
Yeah, there is. And Sesame Street, yes. And you're working with the best of the best. And for me, I call them big mouth puppets, Muppet style big mouth puppets. And some of them are live handed and some of them are rotted and some of them take two people to work. So underneath the actors, when you see the actors, there's a whole ballet of performers on these little rolly carts spinning around and delivering their lines. And it's unbelievable. It's just so unbelievable. So that was really good training, very good training. So yeah.
Now this is an important clarification. At least in these television shows, you're handling a lot of these puppets, but you're not the voices of any of them, or were you?
You can be, yes. Okay. Yes, very much. Yes, I was on Sesame Street, yeah. So I watched a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons growing up, so that's where my training came from. Yeah.
In doing this, and this is so interesting, obviously you started doing this and found this in a college class. Yeah. Found job opportunities to do it. That's the actual work of what you're doing. I want to talk about the effect and the result of what your work does, because as odd as it might be, it's not just a performance.
Right.
It's establishing an education and connection. Can you talk to the listeners a little bit about what it feels to do the work that you do?
Oh my goodness. Well, then yet again, opportunity always comes when you're ready, because 16 years ago, Katrina came and hit Louisiana and Mississippi. So Sesame Street decided to send a bunch of puppeteers down there just to visit daycare centers and some of the shelters and some of the schools. So of course I was like, yes, I'd love to do this. So I went down with a group. And for me, it was the reaction of not just the little kids, because of course they were so thrilled, but it was the teenagers, it was the adults. And I had my puppet was huge and fluffy and purple, and they were just hugging him and talking to him, telling them about how, I've lost my house and my family is very upset. And so I made the connection that, wow, puppets are very therapeutic too. There's something else here. So of course, road less traveled, started going down that road, because that really is my passion, is working in the humanitarian aid world with the puppets. So then connecting with No Strings International, which is out of the UK and New York, and it's all ex-Muppet people, all ex-Sesame Street people. And it's putting puppetry together to go to these places that are in crisis, that are affected by war and disasters and need something, trauma. So we go in with our puppets and we train clinical professionals and teachers and volunteers how to use puppets to teach life-saving lessons. Because, okay, how do you talk about open defecation and disease transference and the importance of washing your hands? How do you do that in a way that's culturally sensitive, good for you, because it's very, it's very awful to have to talk about that. You get very squeamish. So how do you do that? Well, you with a Mr. Poop puppet.
Listeners need to know she's literally holding a Mr. Poop puppet. I want to hit this, but before we go down some of what you just grabbed and presented in front of me, and that is, at some point in Sesame Street was probably the first to have really figured this out, that we learn very effectively through these animated characters that are brought to life.
Yes.
Maybe you can speak from the seat that you're in, and why do we connect so much with that, or why is it such an effective way to educate and really connect to human beings through something that's not human?
Well, I think deep down inside all of us, we're all just little kids still. And the joy and creativity and the power of puppetry, puppets, they're not just this little piece of cloth with eyes on them. They have like special powers. They're non-threatening. People just gravitate towards them. And I do think it's play and creativity. And I think that's inside all of us, even though we're told, you can't draw, you can't do music, you can't sing. Yes, you can. You sing the way you sing, you draw the way you draw. That's still fantastic. So I think puppetry, and because it's not threatening, and I think for children, I mean, adults are large and tall and children are, here, puppets are smaller than children. And I think children just want to help the puppets. And when you do it with adults, they just revert back to that child inside of them, which makes me so happy because I'm all into play therapy and creativity and joy and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Lisa, I want to get this because I do want to spend some time on the amazing work that you're doing around the globe philanthropically, even more because I think it's really important. But you also are a puppet builder. Let's discuss this as I'm seeing listeners need to know this. Behind Lisa is an army of her amazing puppets that I'm sure that either she's made or helped conduct. There's a difference between not only being a puppeteer, but also creating this. At what stage in your career did this also become a component of what you do?
Well, I think that first puppetry class, because not only did we learn how to become puppeteers, we were taught the basics of building puppets. And the good thing about puppets is there's all different kinds of puppets. I mean, you might not be able to do like the ones behind me, which are big foam carved hand puppets, but you could do a shadow puppet. You could do a little stick puppet. You could do a rod puppet. So anything, I think the great thing about puppets is anything can be a puppet. Like Mr. Poop, like a germ, like a bottle of water. I've just put 2 eyes on this little bottle of water and he becomes Mr. Water. And he has a whole life and a whole story and he'll love to tell you about it.
So this is where now let's go into this because you tapped into it a little bit in helping to educate children around the world in certain impoverished areas, humanitarian hotspots. You've been just about everywhere. Can you share with the listeners some of these places that you've been and specifically hit upon the hygiene part? Because the listeners are going to get a chance to see this poop puppet again. But this is really it's such an effective way to communicate and connect with people.
Yes. Well, the diarrhea is like the number one killer of children under 5. Wow. So how do you get children to understand when they can't see germs on their hands, when they defecate and they don't wash their hands? And then, of course, everyone puts their hands on their faces and you're playing ball and you're playing soccer and, making dinner and everything like that. And they don't have sanitation. They really don't. So you have to do it through fun and play, because if you just stand there and just direct them and, speech and this is what you're supposed to do, blah, 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 they're just going to be like, tune you out because it's not interesting and nobody wants to be rah, 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 rah. But if you do it through puppetry and play and you have a Mr. Poop and I'll put him on and do the voice, even though only you can see him.
We'll put some sizzle reel together for this. Oh my goodness. Yes. Let's see Mr. Poop.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Poop. That's right. And he's just made out of a sock and he's got little flies on him. Yeah, that's right. And I love to make people sick. It's my job. You see, my grandma diarrhea, she always said, make people sick, Mr. Poop. And I said, okay, grandma diarrhea, I will.
This has just become the most fun Thrive Loud episode I've done in a very long time.
So with Mr. Poop, he has his henchmen, which are his germs. So you make germs into puppet characters and they have, we like to make people sick. So you're able to have the kids understand if you're touching Mr. Poop and it's on your hands, then you can't see the germs. But yes, now you can because they're a puppet. And then, they're in your mouth and you're getting sick. So it helps to understand. And the germs, they're terrified of clean drinking water and Mr. Soap. Mr. Soap is the big hero. So they don't like Mr. Soap. So
it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's fun. It's play therapy, creativity, because also while you're making Mr. Poop, you're talking about, where in your community, what are the problems and what are the issues and how are you doing your work? And you find these amazing stories of like in Bangladesh, the UN made all these toilets for the women and the women weren't using them and they couldn't understand why. And the women said, well, we like to go out into the field in the morning and have our poop time because we'd like to complain about our husbands. Well, that makes sense. Or the father who he wants his children to poop in the front yard because he shows the whole village, I can afford to feed my children. So when you understand those things, then you're like, okay, now I understand what my work is and how I can help them to understand okay, that's all well and good, but.
One of the areas, Lisa, that you dive into is feminine hygiene and helping to educate
Yes.
that aspect. Share with the listeners what
Yes.
that is all about.
Well, that is my next passion project, because menstrual hygiene, and half the world's population are women, and the stigma and the humiliation that women, girls, and menstruators face from having their periods, and they don't understand and they miss school. So what a perfect opportunity for puppets. So, I have like these little pad puppets that I'm making. And we can, in the same way that Mr. Poop can talk about open defecation, we can have menstrual hygiene and just help with stories. It's all about stories. What are the stories that are here? Because through stories, you can find solutions, and you find out that, okay, we're all the same. We can fix this. Because I just have to say, there's so many amazing people in the world. I know we have a lot of problems, but there's so many great people that are doing great things out there. So, and I get to watch it. So.
Well, and I also think you get to be considered in that universe of people that are doing great things for people, because this is truly amazing. I love asking guests this question on the program, and I'm very curious. Look, you've made a career out of your passion, and it is such a wonderful. It's got causal effect. It's got entertainment effect. You've obviously literally touched in-person live performances, films, TV. I mean, that's like a pretty impressive resume you put together, which means throughout your career and your life, you've been thriving. But we all have days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders. I am very interested to know, Lisa Buckley, what you do to help yourself get back on the thriving track when you're not having a good day.
Oh, well, I think there's two things. First is I watch the Three Stooges. Because they always make me laugh. And how can you be sad when there's the Three Stooges with Curly, obviously? And the second one is, have you ever noticed that when like a lion chases like a gazelle and then misses the gazelle, and the gazelle stops, and the gazelle does this whole body shake? Well, I think that's very important for us to do too when we're feeling all nasty and, so you just turn on some crazy loud music and you just shake your body, just shake your hands and your legs, and you shake your booty, and just shake everything, just shake the nasties right out of you. So those two things seem to help me, but definitely the Three Stooges.
I love that lesson. And by the way, my dog does that whenever he's uncomfortable. Yeah. Like if you bring him he doesn't like to be picked up too much. When we pick him up and then you put him down, he does the shake off.
He does
the shake off.
Shake it all off. Shake it all off. Yes.
You need to shake it all off.
Yes.
I love it. Yes. I want to do the admin part of the show, because we have an extended version of Fun Street here, because we are with the amazing Lisa Buckley. Lisa, do me a favor, share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URLs, hotspots, whatever it might be, social handles. We will put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Great. Thank you. My website is sattva.creativearts.com, and Sattva is SATTVA, creativearts.com. My Instagram, please follow me on Instagram, is at Sattva Creative Arts. And again, Sattva is SATTVA. And No Strings is nostringsinternational.org.uk. And that's where you'll find all the information about the lovely people I get to work with and where we do our fantastic stuff.
Question, what is Sattva? Does it stand for something, or is it?
It's Ayurveda. It's one of the three, what is it? One of the three attributes in Hindu philosophy. And it means goodness and wholeness and purity. And I just thought that was a great name for a website.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was available.
It was available.
Which is always a big thing.
Yes.
I know we've been having it since the very beginning, but I have to ask, Lisa, are you ready to go down Fun Street?
Yes, please.
Because we're going to start off and have a fun thing, as listeners need to know. I have a preview to this and was just absolutely just grinning ear to ear. Lisa, share with the listeners what you shared with me is your favorite all-time movie.
Galaxy Quest. Never give up, never surrender.
So why does that movie connect so much with you?
Well, I think growing up, I watched the original Star Trek. We had like 3 stations. I'm really old. It was Star Trek and it was Wild Wild West and maybe, I don't know what else, but I just thought that I love Star Trek. And then watching Galaxy Quest, first of all, it has this amazing cast. It has Tony Shalhoub and Alan Rickman and Sigourney Weaver and Tim Allen and just great. And it's just so funny. And it's like a parody homage to the original Star Trek. And it's brilliant. It's so brilliant.
Recently, this movie was on TV. I have to share the story. My wife and I were like flipping through. It was actually we were barbecuing dinner, and this is why I know this was on. The meal got burned because I forgot, because I'm watching this movie, and I said to my wife, I forgot how not only whippy and creative this movie is, but it actually turns into an action adventure at the end of the movie. Like, it's not a spoof. It's they paired it together so well. It's actually underrated how good that movie is. Really.
Yeah.
And then them crashing into, by the way, it's Comic-Con in New York today. Obviously, this is the bigger one in San Diego where they finish up their act. It's really well done. And you're right. The cast is great. It also has the guy who normally gets killed. And my favorite scene in the whole thing is when they're about to go down, he goes, I'm not going to go down there. I'm the guy without a name for the character. I'm going to die.
You have a name, guy. You have a name. Do I?
Do I? So brilliant movie, and it's so entertaining. For those who haven't seen it, go check out Galaxy Quest.
Definitely. It's so funny. After you watch the Three Stooges.
So I was actually, and by the way, I was saying, was there any puppet movie? Are there any movies that you've seen, the Muppet movies or anything like that, just because maybe you've had an inkling with them or involvement with some of the players who were in it that also connects with you?
Oh my goodness. I think the movie that scared me the most was Magic with Anthony Hopkins. That was, I was young. I don't know why I watched that movie. It was terrifying movie. The dummy. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I think Chucky's coming back. That's a puppet movie that I have no interest in seeing.
Yeah, I don't either.
Of course, now they have CGI and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now my question to you, Lisa, is we're going to do the speed round. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
Well, the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, make you feel good, motivate you. Basically, they make you thrive. Okay. Of late, a song that's kind of like your jam or one that pumps you up.
Okay. Oh, yes. Hot Chocolate, Everyone's a Winner.
Oh, okay. I know that one.
Do you know that one?
I do. I'll tell you why afterwards. Okay. It was on and someone was playing it and I asked what the song was.
Yes.
That's on. Favorite food that is not a dessert?
Indian food.
I'm going to double click down on that. Which Indian dish do you like?
Gosh, I like them all. I'm a vegetarian, so that's, I love them. I could eat everything that's vegetarian Indian.
A favorite dessert?
A chocolate chip cookie as big as your head. Or my head, not your head, my head.
I have a very big head. Yes. I know it would be a huge chocolate chip cookie.
Yay.
An activity you wish you did more of?
Walking on the beach. Yeah.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Buying shoes.
I'm going to drill down on this one. You buy shoes that much? You have a shoe problem.
I have a Doc Marten shoe problem.
Okay.
Yes.
If I could snap my fingers, Lisa Buckley, and you could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
You know what? It's October in New England. I'm here.
Oh, you're here?
Yeah.
You're right there right now.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut.
It is really nice. I was explaining that, and we had a gift of a weekend this past weekend. The weather was just gorgeous. It was almost like summer.
Oh, yeah. And the trees are starting to change. It's magical.
The last question I have for you, not part of the speed round, but a really good thought process. Obviously, look, this career could go in any direction because the creative world is out there. Where do you want to take this gift that you have, this skill you have with this passion? What's next? What's down the horizon within your world of puppeteering?
I think the menstrual hygiene, I think that's a necessary thing for me to do. Making it fun for people to understand and help people heal, women, mothers, and just make it easier to explain it. And just, I mean, it needs puppets. Everyone needs puppets. Yeah.
I love it. That's how we're wrapping up the show because everybody does need puppets.
Everybody does need puppets.
Lisa Buckley, truly a pleasure to have you on. Just keep doing what you're doing. This is what this program's all about. Those that are thriving in their lives, their businesses, and most specifically their passions. And for the listeners out there, you're definitely going to have to check out some of the podcast art here of some of the puppets behind her, and we'll put some video clips as well that'll work for social to check out because it's definitely worth checking out. She's got everything with it. It's amazing.
They're everywhere.
Thank you again for coming on the program today, Lisa. This was great.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
And to all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.